Joining us right now, and this is an awesome surprise. I used to work with Tony Meola, and I consider Tony to be a friend. And I hope Tony wouldn't get upset with me saying this. The best goalie in the history of American men's soccer is sitting with us right now. The great Tim Howard, who does amazing work with our friends at NBC. I said to Tim off air with Rebecca Lowe and the Robbies and others, I think it is the best coverage that any network does of any sport, what NBC does with the Premier League. And Tim is a big part of that, doing an awesome job at NBC. My man, it is great to have you here live on set. Nick Costos, Ken Barkley, BetQL Network, how are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you for that intro, guys. It's a pleasure to be here for Super Bowl weekend. NBC, yes, is incredible. Great team, and I'm just looking forward to the game.
And we'll definitely talk about the game. Selfishly, Nick, more of a Premier League fan than I am. He follows the Premier League closely. I know you for being the Team USA goalkeeper, and I'm sure you get asked questions about this stuff all the time.
So we apologize because I may ask you.
I got like 10, and it's just like I'm gonna fanboy a little bit because this is really awesome. The game against Algeria is like burned into both of our brains. Like we're both almost 40. We were like early 20s. I remember where I was.
Yep.
Me too.
I remember the call of the play.
Yep.
I said it word for word on the show the other day. Like it starts with Howard gratefully claims it.
Yep.
Distribution brilliant. Like that's what down.
Yep.
When you threw that pass, so it sets up, obviously, for people who don't know, the Landon Donovan goal that sends the U.S. to the knockout round. When you threw that pass, which starts the whole thing, none of that happens without that pass. When you threw that, were you like, oh my God, we might be onto something here?
Well, it's what top 3 greatest goals in U.S. soccer history, right? Like it's up there.
Top 3 moments for like people like us. I remember this forever.
It's number one, right?
If it's not number one, it's close.
And so I've never played in a game like that where it was a knockout. Both teams needed to win. There was no sense in the draw. A draw put us both out. Like it was a big problem. And it was just back and forth. The last 20, 30 minutes was like literally end to end. It was a tennis match. Nobody was defending. Everybody was attacking. It was crossing the box. And to be honest, that play probably happened 3 or 4 times previously because it was just that wide open. And then, I'm a smart guy. I get the ball to the best player, and then you just let him go. And then history's made, and Landon did that.
And Landon scored that goal, and I was in my apartment in Astoria, Queens, and we went absolutely
it just builds, too. Yeah. Howard gratefully claims it like there might be something on here for the U.S., and it's like you're just like this, like out of your chair.
And I missed that team of Ian Dark and Steve McMahon, and I thought they were sensational. 2014 World Cup, I literally, you sit down and I go, so how about that Belgium?
How about that loss?
For people that don't know, and I think a lot of people probably will remember this game, knockout stage, 2014 World Cup. I think it's the greatest game I've seen a goalie play, period. Whether international, club soccer, you single-handedly kept the United States in the game. Like 1 billion saves in that game. It's a crushing loss in extra time. Argentina would have been the next opponent. They would lose in the final to Germany. Just like thoughts on that game and like basically what might have been. And like obviously 0% of that loss falls on your shoulder. And I'm sure you know that.
Well, it's one of those situations. And look, I'm not a big believer in like taking things from losses. You either win or you win, right? And
I love that.
Yeah, and it was one of those moments as a team we could really be proud of ourselves for the effort we gave. We were underdogs. They crushed us. We fought, and that was part of it. Look, for me, that was my Jordan moment. When you're a kid who grew up, born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s and 90s, watching Jordan, he starts talking about being in the zone. No one had ever heard of, like, what does that mean to be in the zone? And he broke it down in certain moments. If you're lucky, you get it. And I got a moment where things slowed down. I was in the zone. I was in the moment. I couldn't be beaten, and on a couple of occasions I was, but ultimately it was a crazy game.
So you got that game.
Well, you got 95 shots against you. Maybe one's going to go in.
And then in Germany, was it that World Cup or the earlier one? You had 1 million saves. That was like the record.
No,
right?
that was in that World Cup. Yeah,
that same Germany, one. I mean, what's the best game you ever feel like you played? Was it the
It was a Belgium
the knockout round of Belgium game. Yeah,
for sure. It doesn't get better than that.
What do you think of the current state of United States men's soccer as we head towards the next World Cup?
Well, I'm excited for them. I'm excited because this is a team that has when Greg Berhalter took over, he stripped it all down and said, I'm going to build with these young guys, and I'm going to let them grow together, right? And so they're in that process. And I think they're starting to get near that halfway point of, and you guys know this about talking about sports, potential's awesome, right? Until you start to not reach your potential, and then it becomes a hindrance. And I think this young team is starting to mature to the point where they're not going to get the luxury or the rub of the green of saying, oh, they're just young, they have time to grow. They're going to have a coming-of-age moment, and that's going to be in the World Cup 2026. And can they really make a splash? Yes, but they're going to have to do it then because all eyes are going to be on them.
What are you most excited for that's going on in soccer right now? Could be Premier League, could be something else you're seeing.
Well, I'm excited about Premier League because one, that's my day job and consumes all my thoughts.
Sure.
But Man City has run away with this thing for nearly the last decade, thereabouts, and they're in a precarious position because Liverpool is really strong this year. They're the one team, Liverpool, that isn't afraid of Manchester City.
Do you think Jurgen announcing that this is his final season helps Liverpool in the title race?
I think it does because there's a special bond between Jurgen and his players and the Anfield faithful. And so I don't think this is one of those issues where the players are going to be worried about that. I talked about this every weekend. When they lace those boots up and cross the line, the manager leaving at the end of the season is like third or fourth on their mind. It's the opponent. It's performing. They have such a synergy between them as a manager and a team. It won't be. I think it's going to motivate them and galvanize them.
It feels like there's a big three in soccer this year in the Premier League, and Tottenham had a really nice start to the season, but I don't think Tottenham's winning. No disrespect. I don't think they're going to win the Premier League. Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal, maybe the forgotten about squad. Who wins the Premier League this season?
Gosh, yeah, incredible question. I think.
Was it though? I thought it was pretty basic.
No, because I think when you look at last year, Arsenal lost the title. Really, they squandered a big lead. So you're thinking they're going to come good again this year. They're in the race. Manchester City can't be written off because they have the ability to put together a double-digit winning streak at the end of the season like nobody can. But quite frankly, Liverpool right now, they're the pace setters. So who wins? You asked me the question. Manchester City.
All right, which would be basically every year except for 2019.
I know. I'm trying.
The Chiefs in the Super Bowl, it goes pretty well.
It's probably going to happen.
Right.
They're the best team. Yeah. You bet. Nick Costos, Ken Barkley, live from the BetMGM Sportsbook, Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas, Nevada. Our guest, American soccer legend Tim Howard, NBC Sports, and ambassador for our friends at BetMGM. Tim, we will get to the Super Bowl, your thoughts on the Chiefs and the Niners coming up in a moment, but really want to get your opinion on what's going to happen in this year's Champions League. Now, Manchester City won the treble last year, right? Yeah. Winning all three of the big trophies, including Pep Guardiola getting the citizens over the hump, winning the first Champions League. Manchester City's the favorite right now to win it again, followed by Bayern Munich, winning an epic chase in the Bundesliga with Bayer Leverkusen and Xabi Alonso, right? Who wins the Champions League right now as we head into, and Tim, I got to tell you, football, American football, occupies so much of kind of our day and our time. I love that the end of American football lines up usually with the start of the knockout stage in the Champions League. Is great. Who do you think wins the Champions League?
Well, again, you talked about City being the favorite. I like Bayern Munich. I like how they, German football goes about in a very industrious way. They know how to win. Ultimately, Man City's been there before. Their depth. Pep Guardiola can change his two center backs. He can change his midfield rotation. He can change his front three. Any other team in the world that does that, we call that a second string. Pep does it, and they get better. It's incredible how he can rotate his team, and they can get better. He's a master. He's a genius at it. He's done it before. They won it last year. I just don't know who beats them because they are so strong. Because as you get to the back end of the season, you have to rest and rotate. And any other team in the world rests and rotates, and they get weaker. Man City gets stronger.
Guess we have to ask you about the Super Bowl. What do you like in the game coming up on Sunday?
I like the Chiefs. Yeah. I like the Chiefs because, as a former athlete, I'm a big believer in big game experience. Big game experience, been there before. What does this week look like? What does the media feel like? The pressure, getting your rest, understanding what preparation looks like. I do like the 49ers. Love Christian McCaffrey. I love what they're doing there. When I look at Purdy, I think of Trent Dilfer. I think of game managers, right? There have been in the past in Super Bowls where you get a game manager who can make a big play every now and again, but it's impossible. Mahomes can just make magic out of nothing. They've been there before. They have the experience. I find it really hard to bet against the Chiefs.
Tim, we got about 45 seconds to close here. Tell us a story, maybe an underrated story, something from your career playing for or it could be from your time in the Premier League or the United States men's national team, something that maybe people haven't heard before. For our listeners and viewers, and selfishly, honestly, I like this stuff a lot, and so does my co-host, Ken Barkley.
Well, it's funny, when I think about my time at Manchester United, 3 years, epic, playing for the biggest club in the world, I remember Sir Alex Ferguson is always talking about the hairdryer treatment, and he gives it to players, and he just literally just pins you back against the wall. And my first game against Arsenal, I let a goal in, and I'm a kid from Jersey. I feel like there's gonna be no problem. He'll let me off the hook, and he absolutely nailed me to the wall and berated me. It was my first game, by the way. I played 45 minutes for the club, and I just remember afterwards thinking, that was a message to let me know that I've arrived at Manchester United.
Do you think he got treated unfairly in the Beckham documentary on Netflix?
I think anytime that you hear anything about Sir Alex Ferguson, it's probably him being treated unfairly. He's a brilliant manager. He's going to call it how he sees it. He holds players accountable, and he's the greatest manager in the world.
10 seconds here. Do you feel like when you guys are doing the coverage on NBC that like you're part of something special?
We are a part of something special. Absolutely. Our exclusive coverage, again, is second to none. And the way that we have a following in America and the way that they watch us and they're so loyal, it's something special.
I'm not just saying that. I've said it to Rebecca also. She's so good.
She's the greatest.
Like she's the show is absolutely spectacular. And obviously if you're a soccer fan and you're in the States and you're listening to this, watching this, you know that I'm telling the truth. Tim, you're awesome, man.
Thanks.
We appreciate it. Great work with our friends at BetMGM and on NBC. Enjoy the game on Sunday. Stay well. And we are going to hope to have you on the show again in the future.
Can't wait. Thank you guys.
No, in all seriousness. We're going to have you
I'm
on.
back.
I want to ask more World
No,
Cup
like we're
questions.
going to get your cell phone number. And we're going to text you to come on.